Welcome back to the channel, guys. So today we're going to be doing something slightly different from our usual tutorials. For this one, we're going to be breaking down this style. So looking at all the design details from the flare to the slight A-line and then the built-up neckline. If you look at the armhole, you'll also notice that it's dropped. The idea behind today's video is just basically to show you that no style is really so complex. If you just take a moment to look at the different parts, break it down, you find that it's not as complex as you think. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I've done is traced my full dress block. So this is the waist and the hip line. We're using the full block because we need both sides, as it's an asymmetric style. We need to account for each side. You also notice that there's no dart because I've eliminated the shoulder dart as well as the waist dart. We're now going to begin. So we'll start with the top part of the dress. From the picture, you can tell it's a built-up neckline, as mentioned earlier. So I'm just going to be working on that part now. So the first thing to do will be to take 2 inches downwards along the center neckline. So that's my 2-inch point. As always, my measurements are smaller than what I'm calling out in the video because this is a small block. So you take 2 inches down. Next measurement to take will be along the shoulder. Here you measure 1/2 inch. So I'll just take mine now, which is here. And then I'm going to be connecting both points. So I'm going to be slashing this line. Now that our line is slashed, as you can see, it's still attached at the shoulder. I'm going to place it under fresh paper and just spread it out. So we'll be spreading it out by 2 inches. That means the distance from this point to this other point is 2 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to take my 2-inch measurement now, upwards. And this is it right here. I'll make a mark. And then I'll spread this one to touch this 2-inch mark. So that's what we have now. The next thing I'm going to be doing is extending this line. So the measurement from the tip of the shoulder right here upwards is 1.5 inch. So I'm just taking my 1.5 inch upwards now. And then connect it with a straight line back to the shoulder tip. I'll just make that darker so you can see. Right here. So the next step is to connect this point to this new shoulder tip. Guys, I also have a video on how to achieve this built-up neckline on my channel if you haven't watched it. So if this isn't so clear, or if it's too fast for you, you can also go there to watch it. So now that we have this point connected, we're going to connect this tip back to this line. So this is a new neckline basically. This part no longer exists. So that's all we'll be doing for the neckline. Now moving to the armhole. If you notice, it's low. So we have a low armhole, which means we need to drop ours by some centimeters. Now this is totally up to you. If you feel comfortable wearing something really low, go ahead. Otherwise you can leave it as is. So just to really replicate the style, I'm going to take, say, 3.5 cm downwards, and then I'm going to take about 1.5 cm, well, let's just keep it at 1 cm inwards, and connect both points. So I'm just first going to eyeball this. Okay, so I think I'm happy with this shape. I'm now going to use my dark marker. So that's our new armhole. I'm going to cut that up now. So that's the armhole modified. Now, something to bear in mind is once you've just amended any part of the block. So if you've taken out of the armhole or the neckline, for instance, if you have a V neckline, you will always need to take out gaping. So I also have a video on gaping. You can check that out. So gaping basically is just taking excess ease or excess allowance in your fabric. Now, we've tampered with the armhole, so there most likely will be ease here. So there are different ways to take this out. You can either take it off from the shoulder just by coming down a little bit and then connecting it back to the tip here, or by taking it inwards a little here. So you'd have something that looks like this. So you can cut that part out. But you need to have a test fit, so you need to have it toil first just to see how it sits on your body before knowing just how much gaping you need to take out. If I were to make this for myself, I'll definitely take out some gaping on the side just to be safe. Guys, you know that we have a full block, and we've been working on a fold. So what we've done on the neck is not reflecting on the other side. I'll open it so you see what I mean. As you can see, there's some space here. So you need to put some paper under just so you have the same thing on both sides. I'll do that now. Alright guys, so I've added some paper and that's what the top now looks like. Let's quickly move to the bottom of the dress. The style at the bottom of the dress has a line cut across and all the way to the bottom. So the left side is different from the right. So I'm just going to label this left and right now. Okay, so now I'm going to be slashing this line from the left right to the center of the bodice and then down. Now we have the left side separated from the right. We'll start by working on the right side. So to begin working on the right side, I'm just going to add some fresh paper. The reason we're adding this paper is because there's a slant at the bottom of the dress towards the right side. It's not just straight. Looking at the part where it's attached to the flare, you see that it's a little bit slanty towards the left side. We're just going to create that slant now. Measure 4 centimeters towards the left. So again, this is dependent on you. So you determine how much slant you want. So I'm just going to be using 4 cm for my small block. And then I'm going to draw a straight line, just joining this back to the hem of my dress. And then I'm going to connect this point to the center. So this is what we have, that's the slant. I'm going to go ahead and add my allowance now, this way and down the slant. So this is what it looks like. We're practically done with this part. We're going to be cutting this as a whole, so that's it done. So now it's time to work on the left side. This is the top part of the hip. This is the top part of the dress. What I mean by top part is, so this is the part that was attached originally to this place. So I've written hip here so you can understand. We're going to draw slash lines because we're going to be creating the flare. Those are my slash lines. I did a pretty good job at eyeballing it, if I do say so myself. So I'm just going to slash these lines now. This is the pattern all slashed. As you can see, they're still connected at the edge. All I'm going to do now is place it on a fresh piece of paper and spread it out evenly. So that's it cut out. I've gone ahead to add my seam allowance here, just at the center front. I haven't added any allowance to the side front because I'm obviously not joining this to, I'm not making a full dress, so there'll be no back piece to join it to. But even if I were, I wouldn't add allowance here because I'll cut the back, I'll cut the flare for the back and front together, so there'll be no need for a seam allowance, if that makes sense. I'll try to explain once I've sewn it up. So guys, that brings us to the end of the drafting process. This is the full dress and this is the flare that's going to be added right here. It's going to look something like this when sewn up. Oh, just something I just remembered is the flare is actually shorter than this part, so we're going to have to cut this. I'll quickly do that now. Ideally, I would have accounted for that before creating the flare, but since I didn't remember or I didn't realize, we can do that now. So I'm basically just full placing this together. I'll take this away. Let's just shorten it by maybe, let's see, 3 cm. So I'm going to take 3 cm all the way around. Try to be as close to, so I'll make the markings as close to each other as possible to make sure it's a bit more accurate. Please don't do yours like this. Before you cut it, so before you create the slash lines, just reduce the hem of the left side. Right, so I'm going to connect these lines now. Right, so this looks fair enough to me. I'm going to slash this whole part off now. So this is what it's going to look like. It still looks really long, to be fair, so I'm going to shorten it just a little bit more, just so there's a better balance to the dress. Before we call this a wrap, I've gone and had a look at the picture once again, just to be sure I haven't left anything out, and best believe I have. So it looks to me that there's a slight A-line shape at the bottom, so we're going to be accounting for that. All we're doing now is adding 3 cm. I'll make it 4 cm. Once again, this is dependent on you. Determine how much A shape or A-line silhouette you want at the bottom or at the hem, and then mark that point and connect it back to the hip line. For me, I have used 4 cm. I'm connecting it back, and I'm going to cut this line now. Best practice is to never leave a sharp edge on your garment. I'm just going to be taking this up. So you can take yours up by ½ an inch. I will just do 1 cm. And then connect it back to the hem with a curve. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to take that off as well. That's it, guys. I promise I finally added everything that needed to be added to create that style. I'm going to sew it together and see how it turns out. And here's the final look of our pattern. There are just a couple of things I would like to point out. The first will be with regards to the neckline. It's not very easy for me to tell how this will sit on the neck because I have not attached it to a back piece. So I've only worked on the front. So if I were to make this in my size, I'll need to first make a toil, make a mock-up just to see how the neck sits. Another option will be to draft the turtleneck in a different way. So I wouldn't use the style or the method I used, but I'll need to sew this up first just to know if it works or not. That's one. And then the other thing, if you're joining this to the back, so if you're making it in a full dress, it will be wise to attach, so make a single flare instead of having a side seam here. I'd advise just make sure the flare is connected all the way to the center back. That way, the back flare and the front flare will be cut as one piece. The final thing to note will be gaping. So this, I mentioned this during the drafting. It's very important to take out gaping. I have a video on gaping. You can check it out just so you know how to take it out. Now, as you can see, there's some space here. That's because I didn't take out gaping from this pattern. So this is the result. This is what happens. When it's sewn, there'll be space, ease, unwanted ease on the garment. So make sure you take out gaping. If you don't know how, watch the tutorial on my page and you'll be able to take the gaping here out. So that's it for the pattern. I hope you enjoyed it and see you in the next one.